Alright, welcome to this video. This is day 2 of me packing up. There is no day 1. This is the starting of me recording because I started last night and I kind of felt lazy to record it. So this is day 2 here. So I don't know if I'm gonna end up uploading this video, what this video's topic is all about, but I'm packing right now. So I might as well just record it just in case I need the footage. And I haven't really talked unscripted in front of the camera in a really long time, so I thought this would be a good opportunity here. So as you can see, I'm in the kitchen right now, all these things here. Okay, audio check, audio sounds good. Alright, back to the present day here. As you can see, I'm now fully unpacked and for the most part settled down. But getting all my stuff here was by no means an easy task. So in this video, I want to talk about some things that I learned along the way while moving across the country for the very first time. I want to start off with the things that I brought into this apartment here. About 5% of my stuff, like my camera equipment, basic kitchen tools, and my clothes for a week, I brought along with me on my one-way flight here. But the other 95% of my stuff was transported in a single U-Haul container. And it was kind of a miracle that all my stuff managed to fit in there because honestly, I thought it would not. And that's thanks in part to the awesome movers that kind of Tetris all my boxes and furniture into the container. And this leads me to the first and arguably the most important thing which I learned from moving, which is don't bring anything that you're not going to use. Because if I were to pack all my stuff in my previous apartment as is, I would have needed 2 containers. That's how much stuff I ended up throwing and donating. But even before this whole move came into the picture, I was already in the midst of downsizing the number of things that I owned, thanks in part to the realization I had when I cancelled my Amazon Prime subscription about 2 years ago, and also when I cleaned out my gear closet last year. Essentially, this whole move accelerated that process as I had only about 2 months to throw out or donate anything that didn't provide any tangible value in my life, because I knew that I only had 1 container, and if it doesn't fit in there, it ain't coming with me here. One item in particular that I got rid of that I want to point out is the giant 6-pound can of tomatoes that I've had in my kitchen ever since I accidentally bought it on Instacart in late 2020 for a grocery haul video. In that video, I mentioned that I'll share with you, the viewer, what I actually end up doing with that giant can of tomatoes. And I'm happy to say that I have given that to my friend and she made a variety of meals out of that one giant can of tomatoes. And seeing that can of tomatoes finally being used felt like a proper closure for my grocery haul series that I ended in 2020. So one questionable choice I made for this move was to schedule my U-Haul container to be loaded a week before I left my previous apartment. I did that because I had some things that were still up in the air when I was planning for this move, and I wanted to have some sort of buffer period just in case I needed to fly here to Washington a little bit earlier than expected. In reality, what that meant was that I had to live in an empty apartment for about a week. It was an interesting thing to say the least. I slept on this air mattress and I kept a few kitchen essentials with me like a pan and some utensil so that I can make some meals during that time. And those things that I packed along with my luggage on the flight here came in handy when I moved into this apartment here because the U-Haul container delivery had a slight delay, I would say. So at least I had some things to use in this apartment here whilst waiting for my other stuff to arrive. So the lesson here is always have some sort of backup options available just in case things don't go your way during the move. This is day number 4. Past few days I've been just packing different places, but today I'm finally starting to pack the kitchen. The kitchen was the first place that I started taking things out and putting the countertop, and it was quite messy to be honest, but I left it unpacked here for a few days. Outside of my table, this is probably the place where I have most of my things, so I need to figure out how to do that. And as mentioned earlier, I'm planning to stay here for this apartment for a few more days, so I still need to cook. So I've been thinking about what things I want to keep, what things I want to pack in the boxes and get them shipped. And so my thought process right now is just to group everything that I want to pack. I haven't even started putting things in boxes yet for the kitchen specifically, and just line it up here like that. I need to figure out what things I can kind of put inside of each other, because a lot of the kitchen things that I have are honestly boxes, and to be more space efficient, I might want to stuff boxes within boxes or things within boxes so that I don't end up having that much boxes when it comes time to unpack for it. Packing my stuff into boxes was a interesting one. I started out with a dead simple plan, which was boxes will be divided based on the room that I'm packing them from. So things from my bedroom goes in the bedroom box, things from my kitchen go in the kitchen box. And in theory, that was a great idea. But the thing is that my stuff was all over the place, and I kind of took this opportunity to also organize my stuff. For example, I have my camera gear all over my apartment, and I also have things that are supposed to be in my bedroom, but they were in the kitchen and dining room. So it quickly became quite a mess, and I ended up with some boxes that had a mixture of things. Yeah, I don't have any valuable advice to give on this. The method I used to categorize these boxes kind of worked, but it kind of didn't also. So yeah. I was sitting down and enjoying my evening, and it just occurred to me that there is like 2 more days before I need to load all these boxes into a container. And I realized that I only managed to pack like 3 boxes at this point. There is still a lot of stuff. So it got me anxious. So I'm gonna start like packing. Specifically, I'm gonna start loading up my table. Table is one place that I'm actively still using. So I haven't really, packed anything. So I'm gonna start packing this table area, which is not all the stuff, but everything needs to go the proper way because they're electronics. So yeah. And here's another moving tip that I learned, which is clean your stuff before putting them into boxes. I'm saying this from experience because for some weird reason, I thought that the things I pack into my boxes will magically be cleaned and dust-free when I unpack them. I was so wrong, because as I was unpacking the boxes a couple weeks back, my things had dust on them, and that made the unpacking experience a little bit nuanced, as I also had to wipe things down. And adding to that, I didn't know which box I ended up putting my canister of disinfecting wipes in, so yeah, that was a bit confusing also. But yeah, the story here is clean your stuff before boxing them so that when you unbox them or unpack them, it'll be way easier. Alright, as you can see, for the most part, everything is packed in this box, and it was a lot of work. Packing is not easy whatsoever, but I managed to finish everything. I think that what I'm doing right now is basically letting the robot vacuum everywhere, because I need to ship the robot vacuum also, and I don't want to resort to manual vacuuming the floors. This past week has been basically feels like living in my own mess, and I didn't really realize that how much stuff that I had. And honestly, this really got me thinking, like, I need to, stop buying unnecessary things. Like, some of the things I honestly thought hard and long, I did ended up donating and throwing away a lot of stuff because I didn't end up using them. Today is the day that I'm gonna be loading these boxes. Just been making sure everything is in the right box and everything is that I want to bring is in the boxes. So what I'm gonna do is to label each box with a number, so that I can remember how many boxes that I have and so on and so forth. I probably could very well just record video on like each box here, but I think so let me just label it just in case something happens, or I'm missing a box, or I somehow forgot how many boxes I have. You know, looking back at that clip where I was labeling my boxes with numbers, that wasn't such a great idea, to be honest, and I never ended up using those box numbers in any meaningful way. But something that was great to have instead was having professional movers. In the past, I've relied on having friends to carry my stuff whenever I'm moving apartments, but this time around, I had no friends and I was moving across the country, so I hired professional movers to help me actually move my stuff. And the experience with the movers was great. They not only had actual equipment like heavy-duty carts and dollies, but they were also incredibly efficient. They loaded a container in under an hour, and the best part is that I didn't have to do anything at all. It was probably the least stressful kind of situation or moment throughout this whole move. Alright, tomorrow is finally the day I'm going to be moving out of this apartment. This has been a hectic time overall. I think this past week, so last time I shot was last week, exactly a week ago. But since the past week, I've basically been living in this apartment with this table here, and some pots and pans, and an air mattress in the bedroom. It's kind of weird, very echoey, as you can see if you recall one of my previous videos about me saying that I'm leaving Arizona. You can check that out in the top right corner up here. So this past week, I've mainly just been working and cleaning alongside that. So I just vacuumed a lot, basically just wiped the shelves and everything so I don't end up paying any kind of additional fees. Yeah, that's been pretty interesting to say the least, especially when I was cleaning my kitchen. That reminded me a lot of those videos that I did in the past where I was doing cooking videos. In those lot of videos, I ended up cleaning a lot also because I kind of made a mess when I was trying to film and also trying to cook also. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss in this kitchen here, or cooking in this kitchen here, but definitely the kitchen in my new apartment. It's gonna be pretty cool. So yeah. Looking back at this entire kind of moving journey that I kind of experienced this past 2 months, I think the hardest thing that I kind of experienced was the 2 or so weeks where my stuff was in the container waiting to be shipped. One, because I was kind of worried that what happens if my stuff breaks, or worse, my container never gets delivered. Secondly is the uncertainty or that uneasy feeling of living this ultra minimal lifestyle without any kitchen gadgets or even just basic furniture like a chair. Like in my previous apartment, since I was shipping the container 1 week before I moved out of that apartment, I opted to keep a table and chair that I was going to end up throwing away. But when I moved into this apartment in particular, I had this kitchen island here that feels like a table, but I had no chair. I tried standing here with my laptop and kind of work or just watch videos or have some entertainment for about a day. And then I woke up the next day with my legs feeling super sore, and what I did was that I instantly drove to IKEA and bought this chair that I'm sitting on right now. It was really that bad. So yeah, that was a pretty weird 2 weeks that I had to endure through. But I have to say, when all my stuff finally arrived in this apartment a couple days after, I actually wasn't that excited to unpack them. Because by that time, I kind of gotten used to living with only the stuff that I brought with me in my suitcase, which was the basic kitchen utensils and that one bowl, one pair of chopsticks and one spoon. And that leads me back to the thing that I mentioned at the very start of this video. I really need to evaluate the things that I buy because chances are I can very well live without a lot of those stuff. And I've actually started doing that specifically in the kitchen here. During this move, I cleared out most, if not all of my spices, pantry items and sauces. So my strategy for replenishing those items in this new kitchen here is to not to front load my pantry items with food. Instead, I'll be buying things based on what recipes I want to make. This will hopefully result in having less junk or unnecessary item or spices in my kitchen. Okay, I hope you learned a thing or two about moving from this video. As mentioned earlier, this is my first time moving cross country. So everything I kind of mentioned in this video was based on my personal experience and my realization after the fact. Feel free to share any other tips that you might have about moving down in the comments section below. Alright, thanks for watching and I hope to see you very soon in the next video.